Hey everybody, it's Shelly, and if it's Friday and it's the last Friday of the month, it must be Funday. Welcome to Funday School. Let me tell you a little bit about Funday School and how we're going to work today. We've been doing Funday School now. This is our 7th Google Hangout, and it's always a topic about a conscious business practice that I've implemented myself and also seen in other businesses, either on the plus side or the minus side. So our illustrious video panel is going to introduce themselves here in a moment. My business is Springboard Social Media. I've been doing social media training, consulting, speaking, and I've authored 2 books with my editor along and coach here with us, Jacoby, who will introduce herself in a moment. Our topic for today at Funday School is coming from human doings, which is what I know I'm doing most of the time. I'm always doing, busy, and considering that I need to be a human being instead of a doing. And I know this kind of sounds weird, so if you like more of a business slant to it, we can go and say from productivity, which is doing, to presence, which is being. So I just introduced myself and how this is going to go. We'll go along the bottom. We'll have Sharon, and then we'll have Sherry, Rhonda, and Janet, and then Jacoby will bring up the rear. If you could take a minute or so to introduce yourself and your business, and when it is your time to share with the panel, please consider that you have about anywhere from 5 minutes or so to share, 5 to 7 minutes. Don't forget to jump in and comment on anybody's thoughts and comment, because that's what makes it fun, Day School, when we share and jump in. So let me go ahead and mute myself. Sharon, I'm going to go ahead, and if you could unmute and tell us about Sharon Jenkins.
Okay, hello everyone. How are you doing today? The sun is shining in Houston, Texas, and I am so happy. I am the master communicator. I am a literary midwife, and I help you birth your business, your book baby. If you're an author, you're in the process of delivering a book baby, and I help you get there. And they have all the fingers and all the toes. And also I have a writing service called the Master Communicators Writing Services. And I'm an author, authorpreneurship. So that's who Sharon is.
Thank you, Sharon. Up next we have, and by the way, Sharon is a bundle of love, light, and energy. I feel it. I feel her. Up next we have Sherry. Hey, Sherry.
Hi, can you hear me? Amazing. I'm Sherry Joyce. I love it. Birthing a book. What a fabulous way to express that. I'm Sherry Joyce with Divine Consultant, and I predominantly focus on relationship sales and marketing. Not only facility solutions, business development, but also personal expansion. And I am a human being, not a human doing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sherry. Awesomeness. Sherry's been with us several times, and Sherry got me her bio, which will be in the book. Everybody, I forgot to tell you that Jacoby and I are working on this, and everybody on a panel from today back and forward will be in the book with their bio. So y'all are going to be published probably by April of next year is my target. All right, next up we have Rhonda, who's brand new to our Hangout. Hey, Rhonda.
Hello, Shelly. You hear me okay? Yeah? Okay. Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. I am kind of I have a website launching called moderndaygypsy.me. It kind of speaks to my diverse resume. So I'm a filmmaker and a writer and an actress as well. I also have a background in human resources in my former corporate life. And then I also currently support a local credit union in their marketing department doing PR and social media strategy. So, and I'm also a mentor and a coach. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I love it all. So anyways, very happy to be here.
Thanks, Rhonda. Awesome. Glad to have you as a newbie on the Funday School. All right, we have another newbie on Funday School, Janet Cohen, who is a colleague of mine. I've known Janet about a year, and Janet and I work. We also do constant contact. We're local experts, so that's how I really got to start to know Janet. Thrilled to have you, Janet. Give us a shout out about you and what you do.
Thanks, Shelley. I have so much in common with all of the panelists right now. Let me know if you can hear me. I have so much in common. A lot like Rhonda, I do several different things. And, you know, I was never the kind of person who could fit into this little box that said, this is your job title and you be here, because I'm really creative. I am a certified life coach, and I absolutely love that. Part of my coaching includes writers, and Sharon and I have something in common there. So I coach writers, and I help them move toward getting whatever their writing projects are complete. I facilitate some writing groups. And I am also a writer myself, and I contract myself out to businesses, small businesses, and corporations to write content for them, whether it be for articles. And my favorite writing is really journal writing. My favorite writing is creative nonfiction, and sometimes that turns into stuff that's publishable in different places. More on that another time. I'm thrilled to be here. I love the concept of human beings versus human doings. And I'd like to tell you I'm a human being all of the time, and every now and again I slip into that doing. So I want to talk about how to get out of slipping from doing to being and being more purposeful. And I'll do that a little later.
Awesome, Janet. Thank you for sharing. We're thrilled to have you. And boy, talk about slip out. I probably am in the doing mode. I hate to say probably 90% of the time, because it's always bonk, bonk. I mean, that's just how it goes. So I'll share more of my stuff here in a minute. And of course, pulling up the rear, we have Jacoby. I'm so glad you're here, Jacoby. You have no idea. Let's hear about you.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me. And just as the kind of experience guide for this panel experience, I just wanted to say to the audience out there to remind you to use the Q&A. If you would like to ask a question or make a comment, I will be popping in and out and reading those to the panel and to Shelley as we go along. So please do feel free to do that. I'm Jacoby Wayne, and I'm co-founder of Energy Arts Alliance, which brings evolution through energy to life. What I am basically is a trekking guide through the adventurous world of energy. I help people understand that everything is energy, and then help them learn more about what that means and work with it so they can live noble, adventurous lives and contribute to progress and making life better for everyone.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. I've been working with Jacoby for, my gosh, Jacoby, I don't know, off and on for what, 5 years? Yeah, almost. She's helped me birth 2 books, speaking of birth and babies, Sharon, and we're working on number 3. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and kick it off. Again, our topic is going from human doings to human beings, and I have lots of notes. Usually I kind of just talk and whatever, but I want to make sure I cover some points today. So I think what happens, at least in my life, I'm so busy that I forget that being is what's important, not doing. And I think where I'm also find that with most companies, especially for-profit public companies, it's all about money, profits, 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 and we've been so focused on that. At least that's how I was brought up. So today, in our lives, it's a reminder that it's really what matters most. Really, is not what we do. What matters is who we be. Who we're being out there, and whether that's being accepting or forgiving or just being who your true self is. That's what it means to me. And working in corporate America for so many years, I lost such sight of that. I think when we're young, that's who we are. We just are. And we work hard, we do all this stuff, and I'm not saying it's not important. My work is important. I love what I do with social media. But who I'm being when I'm doing that work is what's so very, very important. Sometimes we have to have a life crisis, like 9/11 was a huge wake-up call for a lot of people to question, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Am I happy? Is this feeding my soul? Is this my purpose on life? And so sometimes something has to occur to slap us upside the head and get us back on track. Because when we are really in our element, it's natural. It's who we are. My first book, Get Real People, was be your authentic self. That's what you never have to think about, just being real. When you have to think about who you're being, you're not being your authentic self. And so many years I've wasted, they're gone now, but I shouldn't call them wasted because I needed to experience that to make me who I am today. But I struggled for so many years about what do I want to be, what do I want to be when I grow up? And sometimes it's difficult to know that because our culture is all about saying, what do you want to do when you grow up? We're so pushed with what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Instead of who do you want to be out there in the world? The question should be, who do you want to be when you grow up? And if you're not sure, and I think everybody on this panel is pretty clear on who they want to be, but anybody listening in, ask yourself, who are you? What qualities do you want to bring to your experience of living every day? And whether it's writing or dancing or training like I do, if you're stuck, ask yourself, what do you want to bring to life? Which of your qualities were you born with that you want to share? And then match those talents with what you might be able to do out there. So it really does take a lot of thought and practice to let yourself sit down and be still and think about that question. As I said, I struggled with this for years. Here I was a teacher way back in the day, teaching 5th grade, and yet I didn't appreciate that until in my adult business side. Now I'm a teacher again, and I love teaching. That's who I am. And being a real person when I teach is also who I am. I don't try and be something or pretend to be when I'm out there doing that. So I'm trying to learn or relearn at all times that in the end what really matters to me is not my ability to produce anything, but my ability to be loving, kind, accepting, and in that space. So anybody want to jump in, comments or questions on my contribution? If you do, just kind of raise your hand. Sherry? If you could unmute yourself.
Yeah, I did. Okay. So something you said about the learning and the relearning, and I think you and I read the same book, and what we really know is, isn't it an unlearning, right? Because of what we've been programmed for our whole life, that really as adults we have to unlearn so that we can embrace a different way. So I like,
true.
Yeah.
So very, very, very true. Thank you for that, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now just let that land on you, and we're going to move along. Sharon wants to say something. Sharon?
Our grandparents used to ask us, what do you want to be? It's just recently that we started asking people, what do you want to do? And that was a mind shift, a paradigm shift. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when it's my turn. But I can remember as a little girl, my grandparents and others around me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that gave me permission to explore, not having to find a place where I fit in or make myself become something that I didn't want to be. So I just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you. Oh, we have another comment, Jacoby.
Yeah, and not to interrupt your completing your thought about Sherry's comment. Are you getting a lot of feedback? Okay, I'm hoping you can hear me. I've got, there we go, better. Okay, thanks for Sherry. If you could mute yourself, that would help. Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about this kind of that shift that Sharon was talking about, and just share a little of my personal experience, because I'm the daughter of a first-generation immigrant, and it's really interesting to see. I've seen it in so many of my friends who are first-generation immigrants as well. That there was a lot of emphasis placed on having going back to what Janet said, a career that fit inside a box. You had to be a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse or a physical therapist. And I can remember having conversations, because I do not fit in any box. I do not believe in boxes for myself. They work for certain temperaments, but for me, I literally had a bad performance review in my first job because the guy who was the economist for the think tank I worked at said, I can't categorize you, I can't put you in a box, and therefore we can't promote you. Literally. It was like, oh my God. But I had this conversation with my doctor grandfather all the time. He was like, I don't understand what you do. And you should be a physical therapist, or you should be doing some service profession that people understand. And like, I'm being of service. I'm sorry you don't understand. I will work on trying to communicate better who I am. But it was so emphasis, there's such an immigrant emphasis on what you did and making money. And, that's so far from who I am. So I think that also shaped a lot of, like, what those of us who are in the 40s, 50s, and the response of the millennials now that's so different. But I think a lot of us who are 60s, 50s, 40s, even late 30s were shaped a lot by that cultural mindset that came in with the Great Depression and with the immigrants.
So very, very, very true. I know my mom and dad were from the Depression. It's always about money, money, money. And, of course, being Jewish didn't help that matter. So right now I'm just spiritual. So, Sharon, you ready to head out and tell us about how this lands on you?
Sure. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay, good. One of the things that I had to wrestle with, I'm going to go personal and then I'm going to go professional. I remember when I was about to get a divorce from my first husband, yes, that he said that I didn't know how to live life. Well, that was because I was stuck in the doing, stuck in being a wife. Well, not being a wife, but doing the wife thing and doing the mother thing and doing the professional thing and doing this. I was stuck in what somebody had told me that's what I needed to do. And so I lost me. I couldn't find me. And one of the beauties of being, now that I'm of age and I've lived a little, one of the beauties of being is that I can embrace the human condition. If I do not know who I am and I'm stuck in the doing mode, I can't move forth into fulfilling my life's purpose. I am just a robot. I'm being what other people want me to be instead of being who I've been heavenly designed to be and fulfilling my life purpose in the earth. So one of the things that I want us to think about is that when foreigners come over to this country, the first question that we ask them is, what do you do? We don't ask them who you be. We ask them, what do you do? And part of that is we've been socialized, that corporate mentality. And to me, I think it's an advantageous situation for an employer to brainwash you into thinking that what you do is more important than who you are, because if you seek and search for who you are, that may just take you out of the position that they have you in, and you grow and you become something different, and then you can't be a benefit to them. So I just wanted to share that with you. So when I found the courage to be who I am, it makes a world of difference. Certain things started attracting themselves to me. Things that fulfilled my purpose, things that made me grow up in certain areas in my life. Can you imagine being in your 50s and not walking in the fullness of who you are? Which I think that when we all find that who we should be, okay, contributes to us having a harmonious world, a harmonious nation, a harmonious community. So I am of the mindset, I'm encouraging children, first and foremost, my children, to be what they're designed to be and not fit into a mode that makes them, how can I say it, conform to what a corporate mentality or what a greed, I got to go there, what a greed mentality mentality says that you need to do, because you just become a part of the machinery that makes or builds that particular mindset. When you are a doer, you're a robot, you're performing. So I like being on the being side a lot better than being on the doing side. And I have so much more wealth, self-wealth, as a result. And I bring wealth to others as a result. So that's it for me.
Jacoby?
Just want to share some comments that have been coming from the Q&A. Mark has been very active, and he's just commented it's so difficult for many to accept deprogramming, and they stay stuck. Being programmed is comfortable for some. He also loved the literary midwife moniker, tagline. And then, let's see. Also have a comment from Eamon. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So how to become what you want to be if you can't shape it by what you do and what that makes you become. I don't know if anybody would like to take that question.
Janet, Janet, when you raise your hand, put it in front of the camera because it's hard to see.
All right. I would love to take that one because I believe that there is a real question about the corporate agreement in our country about what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to be. And there was a great teacher of mine for many, many years by the name of Brad Brown. And Brad one time answered that question of do and be and have in a way that just really locked into me. We live in a society, if you can picture a triangle, and one point says do, and one point says be, and one point says have. Those of us, whether we came from immigrants or whether we're Jewish or whether we're in our 50s or whatever, we live in a society that says that you have to do a particular thing so that you can get your stuff and then you will be happy. Get it? Do, have, be. And that's the agreement in the world. Like if you do something, you'll make money, okay? And if you make money, you'll get stuff. And if you have stuff, you'll be happy. That's the kind of agreement in the world. When you grow up, you'll become a doctor or whatever. People like me don't fit into that mold. The reality is consciousness is shifting. Consciousness is changing. Sharon said it beautifully before. We are divinely gifted with certain talents. Some people say this comes from God. I believe that the way the world is changing now is that it doesn't start with the corner that says do. It starts with the corner that says be. That if you are naturally who you were meant to be according to God or the universe or the goddess or whatever you believe in, if you be exactly who you are, what you do will be a natural outflow of who you are. And the universe will reward us for being authentic. And as a result of that, we can have stuff if we want it. We can buy Shelley's new book, for example. So what we need to think about in our consciousness is shifting that do, have, be into be, do, and then have. Because the have is really optional, isn't it? You know, we're living in a society now where a lot of people are becoming minimalist. A lot of people are paying more attention to the environment and recycling and reusing and repurposing and all of that. There's more to say about that, but I'll save some of that. My last part on this do be have thing is that I'll never forget the very first time I went to Los Angeles on a vacation, and I was visiting with friends that moved there from Houston, Texas. And I remember meeting some people from LA and being shocked because instead of the usual question, hi, my name is so-and-so, what do you do? It was, how do you play? And at that point, I was like, I was a grown-up now. I was working really hard on my career. I totally forgot what play was about. So, like, in LA, it was a cultural thing. Like, how do you play? Like, we're at the beach, we're hanging out, we're working on our suntan. You know, we're playing volleyball. How do you play? You know? And I just thought that was a great way to create conversation. I'm complete for now.
Love it, Janet. Just awesome stuff. Very clear. I wish some. I mean, I know this is recorded. I get the session transcribed. So some of the stuff, I loved your triangle example and where we start and where we end up. And the bottom line is that's all we are, is molecules flying all over the place anyway. So we might as well be having fun doing it. So thanks for that. And we're going to move along because we want to make sure we have time for everybody. Jacoby has maybe a comment from the peanut gallery out there.
No, it's a comment from myself, the Peanut Gallery. It's just I just wanted to share with people who are listening. There's actually a great new novel that's a debut novel out there called Waiting for the Electricity, and it's really about this topic. It's told from the standpoint of a young post-Soviet Georgian gentleman, and about what's happening in Georgia, that everything has kind of fallen apart after the Soviet order. And he goes to the U.S. and he has this total culture shock that everything in the U.S. is about having stuff. And it's such a totally different definition of happiness. So I recommend it. It's Waiting for the Electricity. It's by a young woman named Christine something. I'll find the address, but I just wanted to get that in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. We'll get the author to everybody. And Janet asked me to please give credit to Brad Brown. He's the one that did the triangle do be have. All right. Who do we have? Sherry. Sherry's in the house.
I'm in the house. You know, I wonder, I'm going to really pay attention to this with my grandchildren. I have 6 grandchildren, and, you know, everything's about what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And wow, does anyone ever say, I want to be me? I would like to encourage that in them, so thank you all today for reminding me that. So again, I'm a human being, not a human doing. I do things, but that's not who I am. And this took me many years of my life to understand and also to live by, to not equate my self-worth with how well I do things in life was a concept that took me many years to learn. And I tend to gravitate now towards partnerships with people who are in life transitions and assisting them with recognizing this as well. So Dr. Wayne Dyer said, and let me get this right, you aren't what you do. If you are what you do, then when you don't, you aren't. So let it sit in. It took me a couple of times. You know, there's a belief that permeates our culture. It's both in business and in personal endeavors, and that says, if I am not always busy, I am not accomplishing anything, and I don't feel valuable. So I say your worth is not related to being too busy, too stressed, and having a maximized schedule. And I think we're doing this to kids right now. I mean, if they're not in volleyball, cheer, you know, a million different lessons, then it's not okay. So I think that our self-worth and our value comes from within, and it's something that no matter how much you produce or get done in a day, we're still valuable. Marianne Williamson, you know, has wonderful things to say about that. So from a business standpoint, you know, this could sound, I don't know, airy-fairy, you know, in business, but however, I don't think that it is, because if you really consider a company or a large corporation, they very often stop and review the past. They make decisions about the future. In management jargon, they call it strategic planning. Okay, and most companies will have at least like a monthly account, and they set chunks of time aside for senior managers to consider the future based on the evidence of the past. And the intelligence of this creates their presence. So if the bosses of large corporations know that they need to take time out to think, to plan, and to make decisions, then why do we think we can be different in our personal lives? So I think there's surely, we got to have more invested in our own life than in any company we might work for. So nobody is probably likely to tell you this, of course. It's not really seen as the Western thing to do. But I think if you don't take charge of your own life and spend some more time being and less time doing, then how do you know you're going in the right direction? So it's, I had a wonderful opportunity. I went to Peru and I volunteered in a home with 55 disabled children. And when I got there, I was like, really, God, is this really what you want me to do? Do. And what I found out was I was there. My job was to be love. Okay, from 9 till 11 in the morning, I held infants. Okay, that were whatever, cleft palates, missing a limb, etc. And all I had to do was be love. We did that again later on in the day. During the middle of the day was spent with older children. But it was really helped me to learn that being love was one of the most important things that you can be, that you can be. I don't know. I think that if you never take stock on sitting still and listening to that intuition within, then how are you ever going to know really how you are? And how do you know you're going in that right direction? And what will bring you happiness and fulfillment? And maybe spending more time being, you'll become happier and more fulfilled, even though we think that the doing, and I think that was said before, I think Janet was saying, we think that if we do and we get and we have, that'll lead to happiness, when actually, if we're happy first, that will produce the happiness and the having, really. So I say to those that might be listening, at some point over the weekend, why don't you treat yourself to a bit more being and a bit less doing, and set aside some time to be quiet somewhere, maybe sitting outside, maybe looking at a lighted candle, whatever you need for your inspiration, and to grab a pen and paper. And your mind is probably going to start to run. You're going to get this commentary. I got to do this, I got to do that, and all the things you need to do and all the things you programmed for so long. So take that pen and paper and write them all down and stop that chatter that's going on in your head. And this pen and paper, you'll write them all down, and that way you can capture everything so that you don't feel, now I have to remember all this, and you can let go and you can be. And when the to-do list has been written down and the chatter has stopped and you calm down, you can be attentive to what bubbles up inside you and from that still small voice inside you. And I think by doing this, you'll get a great message at your very core from the authentic you, who is really calling you towards a life of happiness and fulfillment. That's it. I'm done.
Jacoby?
Yep, just wanted to share a bunch of things that are on the Q&A related to what people have been saying. I'm going to ask Sherry to mute herself again so we don't get feedback. Thank you. Okay, so we have some questions that are all kind of related, questions and comments from Griswold, from Ammon, and from Suzette. So I want to share those, and then I'll take a crack at answering them, and then it can go out to the floor. So from Griswold, how do you figure out how to be if you don't recognize what you're meant to be? And then, which is a great kind of Zen question. And then, let's see, he commented, if you start by being what you are and you do what that dictates and have what that earns, where does growth come from? I see growth in being what we are not yet, doing what we are not until we learn to do, which is also great. He's also throwing a couple of other mind benders. To be is to do, from Socrates. To do is to be, from Jean-Paul Sartre. And do from Frank Sinatra. And then Suzette says, I think people get stuck with the how. How do I stop doing and start being? I'm married to the having, but know the shift is happening for so many people. How do I get there? So I know this is something that everybody on the panel could answer. I'm just going to quickly throw something out there. And again, this question of being, because this is something I've pondered a lot, and why I've ended up where I have in my life was because my whole life was aimed at what am I going to do? A really great way to start thinking about being is, again, about the qualities that you want to bring to any environment. So of course you may have your job description, and those are necessary. In all of this, it's really important to recognize that we still need organization, we still need structure, and we still need to do. It's just, again, the question of how we're doing. And so if we're doing by being, then everything flows a little more naturally. And one of the ways that, there are a couple of ways that we can start looking at being and defining who we be, and not how we do, or who we do. And one of them is, this is where role-playing games really come in well. You know, in the pre-digital age, we had Dungeons and Dragons, and then we started to have the adventure games on Atari. I'm really dating myself. And now we have these sophisticated, you know, World of Warcraft and all these other games. And the thing is, we all choose to be avatars in those role-playing games, right? We have to choose a character. And the character we choose tells us a lot about who we believe ourselves to be, or who we aspire to be. And, you know, one of the most influential moments I had in my path of trying to move from doing to being was in one of the Lord of the Rings movies. And I always wanted to be Frodo. Frodo is the one who's questing after the ring. You know, I saw myself as the adventurous quester. And I realized kind of halfway through that Samwise Gamgee goes along with Frodo, and Samwise is kind of the bumbling, loving, slightly portly, not very svelte, not very cool at all, helper. He's like, in the old medieval sense of the word, he's Frodo's helpmeet. And Frodo would not be able to do any of his quest without Samwise there, helping, sacrificing, taking the hit for Frodo, distracting something in the past so Frodo can go do his thing. And I realized, you know what? I've spent my whole life being told I'm Frodo. I'm Samwise. I'm a helpmeet. I'm here to help support other people to succeed. And I've been, people who know me, Shelley has known me from a long time, you know, I've become wildly more successful at what I do when I realized that what I'm really good at, what I love to be, is a helper, a supporter, a catalyst, a spark. And so that's one of the ways that, you know, creatively, for those who are on the call, start thinking about what character would you be from Star Wars? Not everyone is the Jedi Knight, you know. What would you be in whatever story or fairy tale, you know, which character do you resonate with? And then take a look at what you would describe yourself as if you work for a corporate and you're an accountant, let's say, and your title is accountant. But then it's like, within that organization, what are you bringing as an accountant? Are you the adventurer? Are you the listener? Are you the problem solver? Are you the cleans up messes? You know, so if you start thinking about the qualities you bring, that's how you can start connecting. It's one of the ways to start connecting with who you be, and not only what you do.
Yeah, so awesomeness, again, always great contributions. That's the struggle, at least I know for me, was trying to figure out, what do I want to, you know, what is it? Who am I supposed to be out there in the world? And the good news is the popcorn finally popped when I started doing social media training and speaking, because when I'm in front of people, Shelley no longer exists. I just am. And of course I know my material stone cold, no doubt about it, but and that helps me just be, because I don't have to let that get in the way of, I don't have to think. How great is it never to have to think? Because when you're thinking, it's kind of hard just to be. So for me, wow, just, that's all. I don't want to take much more time because I want to make sure we have time for Rhonda up next. And then, of course, Janet and Jacoby. So, Rhonda?
Okay. Hi. It's so exciting just to hear everybody talk and be a part of this. And so many things have been coming up, so I'll probably going to share something different than what I thought I would share. But can you hear me okay?
Rhonda, let me interrupt you a minute. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Can you guys see Rhonda? Yes? Okay, it must be my system. Sorry, keep.
Okay. As far as the whole, for me, I remember in college, my mom kept asking me, from a personal on the personal side of the story, my mom would keep asking me, well, don't you want to know what you want to do? Because I, for the life of me, did not know what to specialize in or what degree to go into. I went into college with a whole semester under my belt, could have graduated early, but I was like, how am I supposed to know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So even then I got that there was something, up with this whole do thing. But it was as far as and so I did go through my corporate years and eventually realized that something wasn't working. I needed to transition out, and for me, it was going to the being place. And I wrote this vision. I was working with a coach at the time, and she encouraged me to write a vision for my life. And what that had to do with was about what I realized is I knew the type of qualities I wanted in my life. I knew the way I wanted to feel in my life. I knew the type of people I wanted to be around and work with. And so I started with that and I wrote the vision for my life based on those qualities. And so, because I didn't know what I really wanted to do, I knew storytelling was a passion. Acting, writing, that stuff came very naturally. It comes naturally. It comes easily to me. But still, I didn't know exactly what that looked like, what form that would take on. But I knew how I wanted to be, how I wanted to show up, and who I wanted to be around to do that. So that's one way for people who are wondering maybe how to kind of figure out that being. For me, it was really getting clear on how I did want to show up. And what's really timely about this is literally my team at the credit union, we just did, like right before we came in, we did a behavioral analysis. The team, each one did one. And back to what Jacoby was saying about kind of if you're an accountant, what do you bring and what are the qualities? Well, this had doer, talker, supporter, and controller were the four. None of them, no judgments, none of them, no right or wrong. And not surprised, I came up for it. My two, I was very close with talker and supporter, which if you saw the qualities, not a big surprise. But again, it's those qualities, and then that's where I thrive when I bring those qualities to whatever I'm doing. And also from a business perspective, what I find happens is we do get so focused in on the doing, and something what Sherry was talking about a little bit ago about the roadmap. Like if you're not being, how do you know if you're going in the right direction? And what I find sometimes happens is we get so focused on the doing because of what we're taught, or we're told how to, why to, when to, all that. We get so focused on that to-do list or the doing part of it that when we're not in that space of being or being present, we may be missing opportunities that are coming through. Or if we have a roadmap, it's great to follow that roadmap, but maybe at some intersection we need to go a different direction. And when we're in a space of presence or being, then we're open to receiving that information and seeing that and being able to go in that different direction, which will most likely create more efficiency and a better outcome. So I think it's important sometimes to really acquire the tools to realize when we're really in that doing space, which we all, I think, at least I know I go there a lot of times. So I'm like, oh, and I can tell because my body feels it. I know it. I feel a little stress. I'm like, okay, I need to shift gears here and really step back and take a breath and then walk away and be okay with that and then come back. And the other thing I wanted to share when somebody was talking about, sorry, I don't remember which one, about the taking the time, I think it was Sherry too, of just giving yourself some time this weekend. And I have a friend who said, I was told one time, so a lot of times just doing creates money and that sort of thing. So I had a friend one time saying, she's like, I just don't feel like I'm being very productive when I'm not making money. And I said, well, then you're probably talking to one of the, or wait, she's like, oh, yeah, so if she's not making money based on what she's doing, then she's not being very productive or something like that. And I was like, well, then you're talking to one of the most unproductive people you've probably ever met. Because as you're growing a business, you put a lot into it, but I'm not necessarily always making money. I didn't mention earlier, I have a business called Echo Effect Media, which offers actor services and film production. And so anyways, that, and then the other thing is I had another friend share one time that some of the most productive work you'll ever do is sitting on a rock. And so I think I'll leave it with that.
I hear that. Yeah, we have Jacoby's going to jump in.
we have a very active viewership using Q&A. So I apologize to anyone I missed. The stream is coming so fast, I may be missing some comments, but I just wanted to get those in and have asked the panel to address some of these questions. So one was from Ammon saying, love the example of Lord of the Rings, but it leads me the other way. To me, Frodo is the one who is so wrapped in being the ring bearer, being the hero. Samwise doesn't worry about what he's being. He looks always at what he can do and does it. And that is a good point. I would say that the reason Samwise can do that is because he's happy being what he is. He's at peace with, he knows what he is, and he just does it. So I think he's a great example of not overthinking the role. You know, you identify a role, but it's not the role, it's who you are, the person that you bring to whatever role you have. The other comment in question is from Suzette, and this may be a great segue to Janet. She says there's exponential value in finding thought leaders and groups, such as this discussion group, who emulate the who and the what you want to be. It's so hard to do anything by yourself. Where do I go to find those people?
Anybody want to jump to answer that? Or maybe we'll just jump over to Janet. You want to take that, Janet? And then segue into you?
Sure. Sure, I'll take that. You know, it's interesting, Shelley. I love that you coordinated this and that you put this topic right before Labor Day, because a lot of us are thinking about that. Suzette, I'm going to get to your question, but what I was thinking about is that being the last one on this panel, I don't want to repeat what's already been said. So I have
several. Let me interrupt you real quick. Jacoby will be the last one, just so we know we have enough time for everybody. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So what I want to do is like pull snippets that I've heard and add to it, and hopefully this will mesh a little bit of it together. I was thinking about the whole Zen of it all. Okay, there's, you know, what do we be and what do we do and yada yada. And I was thinking about the great Zen teacher, Alan Watts, the man who brought Eastern thought to Western civilization and who's most well known for that. And he was a very funny guy. You can YouTube him, you can whatever, and like learn all of his stuff, W-A-T-T-S. But I remembered hearing him say that the most important question we can ever ask in our lifetime is the question, who am I? And as he's worked on that and thought about that and studied that and meditated on that, the best answer he could come up with was molecules in a bag of skin. So there's one piece to it. And as a coach, and as a coach who works with writers, and as somebody who believes a lot in like Zen Buddhism and practices some of that, I think about what's on the surface and what's on the underbelly. And I would encourage y'all, if you're really struggling with this issue of who am I and how do I get there and what do I be and all of that, I would encourage you to take a regular piece of paper right here, and at the top of the paper write I am ... and then make an agreement with yourself that you are just going to free flow consciousness. You're not going to think about it and then write it down. You're not going to censor it. You're not going to erase it. You're just going to keep writing. I am, I am, I am, I am. And not stop, and give yourself 5 minutes, which will seem like eternity. If you're an experienced writer, I'd say give yourself 20, okay? I am ... When you finish that project, I want you to go for the Zen side of the underbelly and put I am not ... and do the same thing another 5 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever time. You know, iPhones are great, you know, smartphones are great. You can set the timer and just go to work and just let it ring when time's up. And then you're done. And if you want to do more later, you can. But I think it's really good to help you look at what you are and what you are not so that you can uncover. Because a lot of what we're talking about is who we are emerging as. Who are we emerging as, and who are we becoming? And that's a whole different construct and a whole different concept than what we were taught to believe when we were little. I know that my dad died right after I turned 10, and his brother, the school principal, informed me that I would go to college and get a degree in elementary education, and he would set me up for life as an elementary ed teacher in his school district that I'd never have to worry about anything. And I remembered saying, thanks, Uncle Dan, but I want to be a social worker. And he was like, yeah, but social workers don't make any money. And I was like, well, that's okay. I got my calling. I know what I want to do. I want to help work with systems. I want people to maneuver through them, and that's where I'm going. And he had all the other reasons for me not to do that. And I went on and I pursued my dream, even after I was told I'd be the first woman in the whole family not to be a teacher, which is a whole other story. And I remember sitting in my very first social work class, and the professor said, learn their names, because the most important thing a person has is their name. And if you remember their name, they won't mind telling you other details, because they'll know that they were gotten. And, you know, this is about business. It's not just about us personally. So when we do business with people, the most important thing we can do is connect with them. Learn their name. Look at them in the eyeball. Engage with them on social media. Don't just put a like. Put a comment on what they have to say. Share something that was meaningful. There's lots of ways to do that. And as Shelley can tell you when we talk about, you know, all the social media stuff. But it's all about connection, because if people are buying what you offer, they're buying you. It's not just a product that sells itself. It's how's the relationship with the person that's related to that product. And I know in my business, you know, people can look up coaches. Nowadays, they're a dime a dozen. They don't all have the same certifications that I do. They don't all have the same techniques that I do. They don't have the same specialties. But when somebody wants me to be their coach, that means they want me, not just where I got my training. So there's something in there about who we bring to the table. I want to live in a world where I can bring all of it. I am a Jewish lesbian mother and of an African-American child. I practice Zen Buddhism. I sometimes go to the Unitarian Church and sometimes to Unity. And sometimes I get into the goddess stuff and a little Wicca. So what? Okay, I'm like the diversity queen over here, diversity and inclusion. And, you know, my daughter and I have these discussions. She calls me BBH, Black by Heart. My daughter's 15. So I didn't grow up black, but I identify as black. Somebody makes a racial comment and I want to kill them, but that's not really who I am. Okay, and I don't do that. But, you know, there's this concept of who are we in total. I want to be totally authentic. I want to bring all of my skills and all of myself to the table. And what this brings up for me is the concept of mindfulness. We've talked about big corporations, but I don't know how many small business owners are on this Hangout right now. But as a small business owner like I am, I'll tell you that it requires way more than 8 hours a day. And I have the stuff that I do to develop my business. I have the stuff I do for my clients. And there's doing and there's deliverables. But what I am always doing is practicing mindfulness. And I'm asking myself the question, who do I want to be while I'm doing what I do? Which is another way of saying, what qualities do I want to bring to the table? So the concept of creating...
Janet, I'm going to kind of interrupt you because we're going to run out of time. So can you, about 1 minute wrap so we have time for Jacoby? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So, so what it's about is making an intention for every interaction, every meeting, every whatever that I have, so that I bring mindfulness and thoughtfulness to it. And a tip for all of you, and I'll leave you with this one. I have the number 3 and the letter CB, 3 conscious breaths. You know, breathing is an involuntary act. As long as we breathe, we're alive. I believe that it's important to sometimes pay attention to our breath, that we're not just breathing from here to here, but we take it all the way down to our bellies and we come out with it. And by doing 3 breaths before especially intense time, it helps bring us more centered, more conscious, and more alive to what we're doing. Thank you all. This is great.
Thank you, Janet, for being here with us and sharing. Sorry I had to cut you short. We have a lot of good Q&A today. And since Jacoby's going to bring up the rear, and by the way, everybody, this will be live on YouTube, available on YouTube going forward if you missed any of it. And also, Jacoby, if you leave me about 1 minute just to kind of wrap and let everybody know about the next session, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, I'll be really quick. I do want to address productivity, and that is that when we're present, the productivity follows. We haven't talked about money a lot. Money's good. Money helps us do things. Money is love in concretized form. And so when we love who we are and when we love what we're being, money's attracted to us, whether it's through a concrete, normal corporate job, whether it's in an entrepreneurial existence, whether it's in a pastoral existence. We magnetize when we're flowing who we are being, who we are meant to be. Then the productivity and the money and the brilliant ideas for planning, for projects, for making things concrete and efficient flow very effortlessly. And so I just want to end with one quote, maybe two. First one is from Annie Dillard, who wrote the book The Writing Life. And the quote, which I saw in Brain Pickings, is, "The life of sensation is the life of greed. It requires more and more. The life of the spirit requires less and less." And I thought that was really brilliant. And spirit doesn't have to be spiritual. There are a lot of atheists, agnostic, non-religious, pantheistic people who spirit is just the essence. It is being. That is one of the ways that we can describe spirit in a more neutral way for those who need it to be neutral. And then I just want to read this whole concept of from presence, or from productivity to presence, came from Maria Popova on the 7th anniversary of her brain picking service. And I just want to read this. Sorry, it keeps shifting. "Presence is far more intricate and rewarding an art than productivity. Ours is a culture that measures our worth as human beings by our efficiency, our earnings, our ability to perform this or that. The cult of productivity has its place, but worshiping at its altar daily robs us of the very capacity for joy and wonder that makes life worth living. Or as Annie Dillard memorably put it, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives."
Love that. Thank you. Wow. I wish we could keep going because Jacoby only took about 3 minutes, and we know we need you always have such great stuff to share. But I want to make sure that I first and foremost thank everybody. I can't remember who said it, but make sure on social media, let people know you hear them. People want to be heard. Let people know. Don't think it in your head, oh, that was nice. Let them know. Give comments back. I want to thank Janet and Rhonda, our newest Hangout folks. If you want to be on another panel, we will have, how many more? We have, what is this month? We're coming September, October, November. 3 more panels coming up. I want to thank Sherry. This is, I think, Sherry's second or third time. Sharon's a groupie. Sharon Jenkins, appreciate you being here, and of course Jacoby, always appreciate you being our moderator and reading our Q&A. Our next event is on September 26th, so look for it on Google+, and we love Hangouts. Now, I don't have my title. I think, Jacoby, we talked about, oh, I should make myself big, I guess, since I'm talking. We talked about taking all that we've done on Funday so far and bringing our purpose and our principles into our plans and our projects that we do. How we bring our purpose, who we are being, into what we do. How do we do that? What does that look like? So anybody out there that's listening either live now or listening on after the fact on YouTube or Google+, let me know if you'd like to be a panelist. You can reach me at sroth@shellyroth.com. That's with Shelly with an EY. And I want to, again, hold on, I have something pop up on my computer. Sorry about that. Any other comments from anybody? Sherry had to boogie there. Anybody want to wrap anything else? Because I really, really appreciate everybody. And we're right at noon, so I'm going to say peace. God bless America, and we'll talk to you later. Everybody stay on for debrief.